Okay, so I will do insert canvas. So two ways of bringing it in. You can go to insert and canvas there, or you've got the toolbar icon there, which is canvas. So if you click that, you can insert it from any other project, or you can insert from my computer, which is the most logical way where you normally insert a canvas. So on my desktop, I found earlier the space age clock. So we open that one. Now, the first thing you notice that it asks you for is to select a face. So obviously, I just stick it on that face. Now, you've got loads of boxes here, but we're only going to go through one button at the moment, and that's selectable. Now, the reason I'm going to do selectable is if I click that and click OK, so forget everything else. Let's just select selectable. That sounds a posh one, doesn't it? Now, what does that mean? Well, what it actually means is if I click the canvas there, it selects it. So if I wanted to delete it, I could do it that way. Now, the reason that I've said, why do we only select selectable if we want to make it selectable, is if I now right click and then edit that canvas, it looks like I've got exactly the same box, apart from the selectable bit. So, point to note is that if you are inserting a canvas into a design, if you want to make it selectable, you need to do that when you insert it, because you don't have that option later on. So if I delete that and we do it again, so if we insert canvas, insert from my computer, and we do space age clock, and we open, and then the face, we select that one. This time we're not going to select selectable. I'm going to select OK. So what it actually means is that I can't now select it. So whatever I do, I cannot physically select it. However, I can if I go up here. Pointless button, don't even know why it's there. But anyway, it's there just so that you know. Once you've inserted your canvas, you're probably going to find that it's not exactly how you want it. So you have an option here where we can right click, edit feature. So the first thing, the option that we may do is this clock is clearly back to front. So if we flip it vertically, nope, not vertically, flip it horizontally, the clock now looks right. We've got other options here. One of them is the canvas opacity. So if you want to whiz it up or whiz it down, that's quite a good one. Now, the other one that you can do is you can, if we had the origin, now because this is a clock, logic says to line the center point up with the center of the clock. There is a problem with this, but I'll show you what it is in a minute. So what we would do potentially is just grab that and line the clock up with the center of the origin, and then click OK. Now that's all brilliant, but we actually don't know how big that clock is, that image. Now, I think I would like a 12-inch clock. So how do I make a 12-inch clock? Well, the great thing about here, if we right click, there is actually a button called calibrate. So if we calibrate, and what's a good idea is to zoom in as far as you kind of can, because what you've got to do is if we want that face of that clock to be 12 inches, if I select the first point there, and then I select the last point, which is say there, that will give me a dimension. Now, because I work in millimeters, that doesn't really matter because I can still do 12 and then the sign for inches and then hit return. And I will now have a 12-inch clock. But when I said about that you could move it around for the origin, one thing you'll notice is that now I've increased the size of it, the origin doesn't no longer meet up with the center of there. So I would then have to edit the canvas and then just move it back onto there to the center of that point and then click OK. One of the reasons that you want that central is that I know now let's say that I'd like the face of the clock to be 12 inches. So if I create a sketch, I should create it on that plane. I can then go for a center diameter circle. I can go on there and I can take it to there. Now, if I then do dimensions, which is obviously a D for that there, I can then do 12 inches, hit return, and I know that my clock face is going to be 12 inches. So if I'm working in full size, if you like. The only other thing that you may want to do as you start doing more and more sketches, you may find, okay, this is getting hard. I'm really struggling to see the sketches. Well, you always have, whoops, sorry, let me finish a sketch, would be a good start. When we go back to that, we can edit the canvas, and I can obviously then turn down the opacity and get it right the way down so I can only just about see it and click OK. So that may help me as I'm going further in the sketching because it's only just about visible.